This is good to see you, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. It's good to have you. I'm going to tell again everybody where they can find their Q&A box. So, folks, if you've got a question you'd like to ask Mr. Phillips, this is the place you're going to go to. So, Patrick, let's first start off just by saying it's good to see you. I'm so glad that you and I are doing a webinar. It's been a while since you and I've done a webinar, but man, it's good to have you on here today.
Well, it's good to be retired.
I'm sure it is.
uh, yeah, I'm enjoying spending time with my grandkids, of course, and just writing some more, and also being able to talk with some of the licensees. As you know, I try to call every new group of people that join us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So I tell you what, I've got some questions that I want to start off with you. So you know, take us back to that picture I was showing of you and Linda and Adam and Sarah when y'all were little. Tell us what was going on during that time and kind of how you got started into this whole medical billing thing.
Well, we had a friend who was in the durable medical equipment business. He would rent hospital beds and oxygen and things like that. And so he was billing Medicare. And he didn't like doing that part of his business. So he asked Linda one night when we were just having dinner, "Hey, have you ever done medical billing?" She said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "Well, come into my office tomorrow and I'll show you." So he brought her in there and set her down at a typewriter. Yeah, typewriter.
Yeah.
I know that's old technology for most people. But anyway, he taught her how to do that. Within a day or two, she was doing the billing. It's not rocket science,
Right.
as you know, Eric. The actual billing part is fairly simple. And so she started doing the billing for him, and it just kind of grew from there. We started getting some references to more clients. And as it grew, people started asking us, "Well, how you guys working out of your home all the time and never having to leave your house and make a living?" So it was kind of hard to explain at the time because there was nobody else teaching this or doing it.
Sure.
So I just developed my own pieces of marketing materials and things like that, and a whole training program eventually. And we started selling licenses. That was back in 1994.
Yeah. If I thought about it, it'd have been fun to go back and pull some of those old marketing pieces that you had in the past.
Yeah, they were pretty crude. I
Yeah.
used to print those out on a inkjet printer, and
Yeah.
wasn't very professional, no.
Yeah, and kind of show a comparison of or what we could say, the evolution of ABS whenever it first started to where it is today. So, because I think if I can recall, I mean, the software that you were utilizing, what did you even have software in the beginning? Or were you still doing everything via the CMS 1500 form?
Well, we started on the typewriter that Linda had at home.
Yeah,
Remember, this is the late 80s, early 90s
yeah,
when she started doing billing, at least. And so when we first got a computer, I figured out how to create a little database that would let her just fill in the blanks,
right.
just like one of those, forms
Sure.
that she was typing on. And anyway, she would fill that out, and then we would push a button, and we had this paper that would go through a dot matrix printer.
Yeah.
Remember those old?
I do.
And
Yeah.
and that would just crank out all the claims. We would fold those up, put them in envelopes. We still were mailing them to the insurance companies and Medicare, and some of them would get lost. Some of them they got. Some of them they claimed were lost.
Yes.
And but we worked our way through that, and finally, I did find some software. It was on a CD,
Yes.
And I had to put it in the computer and load the software in. But at that point, we had figured out that we could use a dial-up modem
Right.
and
I
dial up.
remember having that screechy sound dialing up
Yeah,
to a modem.
right. And so we would upload them all to the clearinghouse,
Yep.
which we probably need to explain to people a little bit there. But that's how we were doing it way back in the days.
Wow, man,
Then, then
those
of
were the
course,
days before the really what we would think of the internet in and of itself. I mean, that was back some time ago.
yes, early 90s. Oh yeah,
Yep.
the internet had just kind of started out there. And then we found a software that was cloud based.
Yes.
We started using that, and that made everything a lot easier because she could work from anywhere.
Right.
Even when we went on vacation, she would just take a laptop and do it from there. As long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, you're in business.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, again, I want to remind everybody if you got any questions that you have for Patrick, remember now, folks, typically, those that have been on our webinar before, you notice that we would take a topic and kind of go 30 minutes into that topic. But today we're doing an interview, so we may go a little bit past the bottom of the hour, and we'll stay here as long as Patrick would like to stay on here. But I really want to kind of just pick your brain here a little bit more. Um, Tell me whenever now you and I, we met, I think a little over 18 years ago, if you can believe that. My daughter, who is now just about to turn 30, she was 12 years old.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. I remember little Hannah.
Yeah.
Yes. And now, of course, as you know, she is one of our licensees
Yeah.
out doing the medical billing herself. So
She
it,
is.
it's
Yep.
it's going to be a family business for another 30 years.
Absolutely. So did you ever think 30 years ago you would see ABS being where it is today?
No, I couldn't even picture this, Eric. It's wonderful. We have literally hundreds of licensees, we call them business owners, from coast to coast, from every imaginable background. And the amazing thing is that most of them don't have any background at all in medical billing or even the medical field. We
Right.
teach everything they need to know from scratch.
Yes. Yeah. I remember the days whenever I first started here. One of the questions that I always asked you was whenever I first got on board with you is how long do you think this is going to last? And you said, well, if it's lasted this long, I don't see why it can't last another. I think at that point it was about 10 or 12 years, 12, I think 12 or 13 years old. At that point, you said, well, if it can last this long, it can last another 10 or 12 years.
I think even with AI and all the robot stuff going on, it
Yeah.
still needs a human being to
Yes.
intervene in this and handle it because sometimes a claim is rejected by the clearinghouse and you've got to interact with them to
Sure.
figure out what's wrong and
Yeah.
resend it and so forth. So it's not going to be totally automated. I don't see any time in the near future. This is a what I call a long-term uh, diamond type business. It's going to be
Yeah.
around a long time.
You know that Adam just recently wrote an article that's in the Building and Coding Advantage magazine, and in another month or so, he and I are going to do an interview together, very specifically on artificial intelligence. So I look forward to having that with him. Patrick, there's a question that came in here from one of the audience people, Dan. Dan's asking a question. He says, "Question for Patrick: What are his personal or the company's values?"
Well, Eric, I would say that we are a very Christian based valued company. That is, from your history and mine, we both believe in family. We believe in working hard, uh, only working with people that we trust. And
Yes.
therefore, our screening process for new licensees is not that they're Christians necessarily,
Right.
but do they have moral values
Yeah.
that we would want to support? And
Yes.
so the values are based on really working hard, family, and that's why it's a great family business to get other members of your family involved in.
You bet. And speaking of family, I mean, my last name was not Phillips, but I feel like it is somewhere in the middle there. I must slice it in there to a degree because
I agree.
you and Linda and Adam and the rest of the group here has just adopted us as Phillips children, as we could certainly say.
Yes. And Eric, I just appreciate you so much. If people go to our YouTube channel and start looking back in the years, they'll see that you go back doing these webinars for, well, maybe not 18 years, but a long time.
A long
We've
time.
done,
My
we've done,
beard was actually black at one point.
yes, my hair was too.
Yes. Yeah,
That was a
that
while
is
back.
so. And I think probably see me without glasses at one point. So yeah.
Yep.
So that we've been at it a little bit. Patrick, you and I have always joked about if we ever lost American business systems, at least you and I could have done webinars on teaching people how to at least go get business or network with each other.
Well, I would say we're probably, out of all the people in the United States, you and I know more about marketing to doctors
Yeah,
than just about anybody, except for maybe Dr. Vicki Ragnar.
that's correct. Yep. And we'll talk with her about her in just a second. But Sahini is asking, what is a good time to start networking in BNI? Since we're talking about networking, what is a good time to start networking in BNI while the training is going on, or should I finish the training and go for these networking groups after I get through with the training?
I think that people should just do whatever networking they can do, even among their own warm market. Your family, not that they're prospective or doctors or prospects, but they know doctors, right? One
Yep.
of our biggest licensees that are out there, uh, she began to, she sent out a letter to all of her relatives and friends that just said, "Hey, I'm starting in medical billing. If you know a doctor that needs help, let me know." And her mother said, "Yes, my doctor mentioned the other day that he was having problems with his billing and couldn't collect all the money he wanted to collect." And so that was her first client. Yeah. So when we talk about networking, we're talking about just sharing what you do as a company. We'll teach you how to do this, by the way, step by step, how to share that with other people that you know, and even people you don't know, because there are lots of groups in every area of the country that get together. Like somebody mentioned BNI, that's Business Networking International.
Right.
They've been around for, gosh, probably as long as we have. Uh, Getting together as business people and just networking and sharing what they do, and helping other people connect with other business people in their area. So there's people that go to those meetings that can introduce you to doctors if you just tell them what they do, what you do.
You bet. You bet. Let me see if I can pull up the question box here and see if there were any other questions. I think if I can recall, Dan had a question earlier. So Dan, we kind of dropped the whole thing here, and so if you could maybe re-ask your question, and I'll see if I can get that. Let's see. Someone's asking, what is your success rate finding clients? I guess that would be more along the way of, I guess, finding clients for a new medical billing company. Patrick, you want to kind of share some of our secrets of what we do to help our business owners find clients?
Yes. One of the things we've done is we've developed some tools that allow you to connect with doctors and give you some expertise or credibility. One of them is a book that Dr. Vicki Ragnar and I wrote a couple of years ago that is called The New Thriving Medical Practice. And the unique thing about that, Eric, I don't see your slides yet. I don't know if you.
I'm looking for them, so I found them and I'm about to pull them up. I'm just waiting for them to kind of come out of the cloud.
Oh yeah, okay. But you'll see a picture of one here that you actually can be on the front cover, your name right along with mine and Dr. Vicki Ragnar. And that gives you huge credibility. Now, it's just the forward. We've written a forward that is very generic, and you can write one on your own if you want to with our help. Uh, but you are basically connected now to her and I, and the doctors will look at you as an expert because your name is on the front cover of a book written by a medical doctor.
Absolutely. As soon as this comes up here, I think we're got again just trying to pull this out of the cloud here because it's coming out of my laptop here. But yeah, Patrick, I know that there is such an importance about that book. You know, I was sharing, I think last week, one of our brand new licensees actually utilizing that book, and it was with a doctor and his wife, and the wife who was actually doing the billing for the doctor, she thought that he had ordered the book and highlighted all those book parts for her to read.
Yes, we teach people to highlight certain pages of the book and put little tabs, little sticky tabs in the book that allows the doctor to just turn and read some of those quotations. And I think you said the doctor thought that his wife had done that or something,
That's correct.
or vice versa.
Yes, absolutely. So let's see if I can find these other. I had a couple of other questions here for you that I want to kind of ask you about while we're still trying to pull up that slide deck there. Um, what do you think makes ABS stand out from other trainings and support companies?
Oh, well, gosh, there's so many things. Uh, One of them, of course, is our cloud-based software system. Now, people don't realize how important that is that you have a cloud-based system until you are really, really uh, trying to build your business big. Because if you try to hire people and if you want to allow the doctor to see what's going on in the system, you have to have a way for them just to log in and see that. Oh, there I am. I see me and Linda.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to get to uh, one of those. Uh, one of our there we go. So now I've got some side decks to work with, and as we kind of keep going through with this, but yes, yeah, having a cloud-based system today, it's almost, I mean, it's old school if you try to do anything other than a cloud-based system for sure.
Yeah, because this allows you to really run your business on any device, as you can see, desktop, laptop, phone, uh, tablet. And by the way, I think these are images maybe of Apple computers, but it really doesn't matter what kind of computer it is. As long as you have an internet connection, uh, and Wi-Fi, you're fine. You can connect from anywhere in the world. You could literally go on vacation to Hawaii and work from the beaches there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, let's see if we got some other questions that I can bring in here. Can Patrick share an example of a struggling business owner that he or ABS was able to help overcome?
Oh, yes, I see that from Dan, or saw it earlier.
Yeah,
Uh, there's so many examples of people who go out and some people think they know better than we do. You know, that is, they think they know how to market or sell, and really, there's no selling to be done in this business. The doctors either need your service or don't. They either are struggling with their cash flow or they're not. And so there's a lot of people who go out though and try their own thing. You know, they've had some experience. And so they say, yeah, I know how to do this. I can do this on my own. Hey, I'll tell you a good example of that, Eric. To start with is our now vice president of support and training,
yeah,
Warren. He and his wife did that very thing. And Tim tried for, I forget what he said, maybe 2 or 3 months to try stuff on his own. And he finally didn't get a client, so he came back to us and said, "You know what? I think I need to do what you guys taught us in our training." And as soon as he did that, he got a client.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
happens. That happens a lot.
Absolutely. If I'm going to remind everybody, if you've got time later on when you can go back and get into our YouTube channel, you can certainly go over there and find that interview that I did recently. I think I hear at the beginning of the year with Tim Warren, and he'll share that story with you. So Dan, that's a good one to go back and listen to. And there's actually others that have done the very same thing here, to where they have struggled. They've gotten back with ABS, gone back through some of the training parts, modules of it, and kind of tweaked it because Patrick, I think you and I have learned over the years that when people kind of bring in their own, they think their own marketing part of the business, then that's going to work. But boy, marketing to doctors is a little different than just marketing something other than anything else like that.
Yes, it's a completely different world when it comes to marketing to doctors. You have to know what you're doing. You have to have enough knowledge to be able to talk, intelligently with them, and uh, and we just know how to do it. We've honed this and tweaked this over the years, and we know what we're doing because it's proven over and over again as people go through our training. When they go out and do what we teach them to do, it works.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It does. Um, some great questions here. Another one from Dan here. I like to share this one. Uh, and that is, Patrick, who in your life has had the most of influence, influencing you, or a particular book you found most influential?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one because I have a huge library here behind me that has all kinds of books. I'm a real fan of not just self-help books, but business books on marketing, for example. And one of the guys that I've read and learned a lot from has been a guy named Dan Kennedy,
Hmm.
and he's written a whole bunch of them. Just go to Amazon and search for his books. Just about any book that he has on marketing is a real jewel. Uh, and of course, Eric, that I read a book by Dr. Shad Helmstetter several
Yes.
years back that changed my life because it's all about what's going on inside your head.
Why don't you talk about that real quickly, if you've got a little bit of time here? Kind of just share, your story about basically it's a rags to riches part of a type of a book or part of your life.
Yes, I had some real negative thoughts going through my head because when I grew up, my dad left when I was 12 years old, and I had some real negative stuff that he had kind of programmed into my brain before he left about me, success, and life in general. And I had to overcome all that because, we talk to ourselves all the time in our head. And I was saying some really bad things about myself. And I had to get over that. So this book by Dr. Shad Helmstetter was called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. A tremendous book, but it was a little more along the shall we say, intellectual side, got kind of deep. He's a PhD, so he did a lot of study on the brain. And anyway, after reading that book, I started practicing what he taught and wrote some scripts out for myself. And he has some in the book too that would help me reprogram literally my brain. And I couldn't believe that within just a month or so, Eric, I would listen to these video cassette tapes as I was driving down the road. That's how long ago it was, cassette
Absolutely.
tapes.
Yeah.
And I started saying those things about myself and to myself. And literally, I started changing the way I thought about money and
Yep.
business and success. And it just began to change so many areas of my life that I was so impressed with it. I contacted Dr. Helmstetter, went up and visited him in his home in Minnesota, and said, "Look, your book has changed my life, Dr. Helmstetter. I'd like to write a book that's maybe a little bit less technical, small
Right.
enough to, read chapters, in the bathroom if that's what you want to do, and so the typical person can get through it." He said, "That's a wonderful idea, Patrick," and he offered to write the foreword to my book.
Right.
So now that book is available to our business owners and our licensees. It's called How to Reprogram Yourself for Success.
Now, I believe that book is in a PDF. You know what? So I would like to offer that to those that are on here today. If you'll get back with your business coach and request a PDF of Patrick's book, How to Reprogram Yourself for Success, we'll get you a PDF copy of that. How about we do that, Patrick?
Yes, that would be wonderful. And you'll get a copy when you actually sign up and
Yep.
join us uh, as a licensee, of course.
Yep.
Uh, and you can buy those at our cost, which are about, I don't know, $4 or something like that. We print those ourselves. And it's just like these books that you're seeing here on the screen. We all have these self-published, so we can print as few as one at a time, and you can reorder these as you need them. But all three of these are wonderful marketing tools.
You bet. Speaking of books, I kind of going back to Dan's question here. You and I have studied together Robert Cialdini's book, The Persuasion of Influence.
Oh,
Uh,
yes,
that's another good one for people to get for
it
sure.
is. Yes, influence. That's the name of it.
The
And man,
influence.
it is so powerful, Eric. You're right. That would be my third most important book that I've read that just completely changed my thinking about how we interact with other people. I read a book back years ago, and this book was actually written in the 40s, I think, or 50s. Uh, Dale Carnegie wrote a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes,
And this book called Influence by Robert Cialdini really does go way beyond that one and shows you how to influence people in a good way, not manipulate, but to do the things and say the things that you should be doing
you
and that you
bet.
don't think about otherwise.
You bet. Patrick, I know that we kind of had a little bit of a problem with the technical difficulties there. You tell me how much more time you got to hang on. You got 5 more minutes to be with us?
Yes, I know you want to allow time for people to ask just questions in general, and you have some things to share about the business opportunity itself. So
I
I
do.
can take a couple of more questions. Sure.
Okay, great. Let's see if there's any other questions. I've got one here that I'd like to ask you, and you can just kind of help out with. What do you think the most difficult part of starting a medical billing business?
Oh, by far, the hardest part really is finding your first client.
Hmm.
People think it's learning about codes, for example, because
Yep.
everybody's heard that there's medical codes that you have to learn about. And my wife didn't know a thing about codes. She was given the codes to put in to the claims by the fellow who hired her. And that's been true ever since. It's the doctor's responsibility to give you the codes. And we'll show you how to get those codes from him. Or if you can't, if he needs help, we've got certified medical coders that can help with that. But that's not the hardest part. You don't have to know a thing about medical billing. Most of our people who go through our training don't know anything about medical billing. It's how do I market it? How do I get a client that actually will pay me to do that billing? And then once you've got one client, you're off and running.
You bet. Yeah, those two boxes that are right here in the middle, Audit Guard and Code Right, have to do with coding. So if the doctor does need some help with coding, those are professional coders there that can be basically at your service and at the need of whatever that doctor might need there. So that's what Patrick was talking about. We have all these different services, but I know that obviously when you're here and you were kind of more in the CEO role, now that Adam's more in the CEO role, we're still adding more services that's very helpful for the doctors. And so there's been just wonderful, wonderful different services. You want to kind of share about how the idea of all these services actually started coming about, Patrick?
Yeah, well, usually it's just out of need.
Yeah.
One of our licensees came to us one time and said, "Look, my doctor is saying that he's having trouble actually collecting from his patients, and yet he doesn't want to bug them or turn it over to a collection agency." So we found a company that we partnered with that provides a service called Quick Collect,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it does. It helps the doctor to collect without making his patients mad and giving them some options because we have, uh, choice pay there too.
Right. Yeah, so all these different services that whether they're HIPAA compliancy about compliancy guard or virtual care or I claim an EMRX, all of these have come because our our business owners, our licensees have come and said, "Hey, I found a new service that's helping me." And then what we do, we'll take it and we'll vet it with a couple of our uh, you know, business owners that are seasoned there. And then if they found value to it, then we bring it all back to all of the different ABS business owners. And then that becomes part of your services. And again, to this day, over 30 years, when you add services, Patrick, there's never another upcharge that is ever paid for by the business owner.
No, that's right. We make a few pennies on each one of these services from our technology partners, and so we've got a back end revenue as a company without having to have our licensees or our business owners out there actually pay us anything. After the initial startup fee, what we call a licensing fee, kind of like a franchise fee, that's all taken care of by the income that we have from these various services.
Mm-hmm.
So we have longevity as a company, even if we never sold another license.
You bet. Folks, I see that you've got questions here. I'm going to save some of those questions that I know when Patrick has got to roll off here. I'll answer some of those questions for you as we uh, kind of start getting some things wrapped up here in the next 15 more minutes here. Patrick, you want to just kind of share with the group here, just some of your closing remarks and what your thoughts are about this whole thing about medical billing and ABS and what's been developed over the last 30 years and kind of what you foresee in the future. So just take a little bit of time and just kind of share, Patrick Phillips, heart to heart with this group of folks here this afternoon.
Yes, thank you, Eric. I do want to encourage everybody to do your due diligence. That means research as much as you can about medical billing. There's lots of companies out there that'll say they could teach you how to do this and get you started for a whole lot less than our licensing fee, but they don't have all the tools we have. They're not going to give you the support. They don't have the cloud-based system we have and so forth. So just do a lot of research first. And then if you think that it might be for you, you just go ahead and fill out the paperwork with your rep and fund your business. And then in the first 30 days, Eric, they can go through all of our training. Everything we have is available to them for the first 30 days. Everything on our website. We have a licensing website that has literally hundreds of videos and documents that they can download. They can do all of that and then still ask for their money back. Uh, we've
Now,
done that a few times over the years. There's been a
yeah,
handful of people, but it's very rare. It's usually something very personal that comes up in their life. But if you do that, oh, and one other thing, Eric, if they will talk with some other business owners, we've got a list of people who are willing to talk with you. I'd say that's the first thing I would do is ask your ABS rep. Oh yeah, there's a picture of some of them that are on our reference list. We've actually got probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 times that number
Yes, absolutely.
there. And so just do your research and make a decision that's right for you and your family. And we'll be here for you in those first 30 days. If it's not for you for any reason, just ask for a refund and go find something else that's good for you.
As you
Eric,
would, as you would always say, we'll shake hands and part as friends.
that's right. Eric,
That's
I've enjoyed being on here today, but I do have some other things I got to get to, so I'll leave it with you.
absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule today and kind of being with us. Thank you so much.